And imagine what it must have been like.
The scene here would have looked very, very different
as they roamed this fresh and soon-to-be famous place.
Coming up from the American Battlefield Trust.
I'm sitting on a rock where I have sat thousands of times over the last 35 years. This is known as the Wad Rock at Gettysburg. We are at Devil's Den. Amidst a scene of terrible carnage, photographer Alexander Gardner and his crew recorded images in this area, numerous images. But they took time out from what they were doing to record one photo of presumably a friend or an acquaintance of theirs, Alfred Wads. He's a sketch artist for Harper's Weekly. And this photo, I invite you to step into this photo they took because he is sitting right here. His foot is right where my foot is. The identical rocks behind my head are perfectly visible in the historic photo recorded on July 6, 1863. It is interesting to contemplate what Wad must have been thinking as he made a sketch of the Valley of Death, a sketch that we have today. This was a scene of terrible carnage, one that Alexander Gardner was photographing as Wad was here, making sketches and sitting for this photo. And imagine what it must have been like for Wad and Gardner documenting this battlefield, albeit in different ways, as they roamed this fresh and soon-to-be famous place. There are so many photos recorded around here. We're going to show you more here at the Valley of Death, elsewhere at Gettysburg, and follow in the footsteps of not only the photographers, but a sketch artist or two as well.
The landscape that Garry just mentioned, Devil's Den, Little Round Top behind me, the Valley of Death, these are some of the iconic locations in Gettysburg National Military Park. And over 1 million visitors come to this spot in the battlefield each year, just like sketch artists and photographers did in the aftermath of the battle. Of course, on July 2nd, 1863, the scene here would have looked very, very different. It would be here, amongst the boulders of Devil's Den, that Daniel Sickles would place the left of his 3rd Army Corps. These would have been men from New York, Maine, Pennsylvania. And on the afternoon of July 2nd, they would be assaulted by elements of James Longstreet's Corps. These are men from Georgia, Alabama, Texas. For 90 minutes, Little Round Top, Devil's Den, the Valley of Death were scenes of ferocious fighting as both sides sought control of this key location on the Gettysburg battlefield. And afterwards, it would be a scene of desolation, devastation, and death. And that's what would compel men like Wad and Gardner to come to this spot on the battlefield.
We are standing directly in the scene of one of the photographs here. Not actually one, but 2 photographs, and they fit together into a 2-plate panorama. Step into these photos and you can actually see the specific 3 boulders sort of near the road there. You can see Little Round Top in the background. You can see a lot of the Valley of Death and some of the rocks of the slaughter pen over there. We are seeing exactly what Confederate soldiers would have seen, the ones Chris mentioned, who are attacking through this area. Union soldiers retreating through the Valley of Death, only to have reinforcements come up in their place. Little Round Top looked like a volcano with smoke rising from the top. When you zoom in on the photo as well, you can see more details. You start to see the ground is a little torn up, and I think in here you can see some fresh earth that probably represents 1 or 2 graves. As far as the soldiers who fought here, that soldier, if that is a grave, would either be from the state of Maine or maybe from Georgia or Alabama. Maybe that's the best we can do for them. Figure out who fought here, what we're seeing in the photo, and understand this fight for Devil's Den and Little Round Top a little bit better. Now, these photos are just a few of the photos taken around here. There are 6 photos of the human carnage in the slaughter pen directly in front of me now. There are photos of a particularly young soldier known as the dead sharpshooter taken on top there. Alexander Gardner also went up on top of Houck's Ridge and the largest boulders you see here called the Table Rock and recorded photos of the Valley of Death and Little Round Top. We invite you to look at these photographs, explore these photographs, and you can download these photos from the Library of Congress, and you can step into these photos yourself, and you are going to find interesting things if you do so, and I think you're going to start to understand the people of the past a little bit better.
Get inspired at battlefields.org.